So hi, Christine. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I usually start off, I kind of talk about why I'm doing these discussions, what the purpose behind them are, why I'm doing them, what the purpose is. So the main purpose is, of course, there are many around our collective at this point in time for various reasons need various help, whatever that looks like to each individual. And of course, there's many, many, many different reasons. Um, so it's one of those things where intuitively I've been kind of gotten the message that this is what needs to be done, mainly going out to the main collective because out of all of them, there's medicine work, there's all these different types of work. Um, the majority are not going to work with medicine work, of course. They're going to do whatever other type of modalities that resonate with them. So, of course, this is what I'm doing is I'm trying to get as many different people out there with whatever they do and get these modalities. And because it usually ends up somebody goes, oh, that sounds really neat. I'd like to reach out to them and find out how I can get this help. So that's kind of what I'm doing is to reach out to the majority of the collective and see what we can do to help them, whatever that looks like. Christine is an intuitive business coach, quantum energy healer, and emotional or sacral intimacy coach. Christine is on a mission to help others and any emotional suffering and build emotional intelligence. So as we go, it's interactive. So at some point, if there's a possibility, then we can ask the questions outside of what we're talking about in the discussion. Um, so maybe tell us a bit about your humble beginnings that led you to resonate with all that you're doing now to help others. Like, where did that look? What did that look like? Is you have you always been doing this healing stuff, or what were you doing before, and then all of a sudden, bang, there's something else.
Yeah, bang is a good way to say that. Um,
That's usually what.
so I am one of, well, just generational natural healers. I remember running around in GNC health food store when I was little, and my sister and I would steal the little vitamin C samples when my grandma was working there. And our family just always been about natural medicine as a first look. And during the lockdown, when my travel business went sideways, of course, I had to pivot. And so I'm presented with this now. Now, what am I going to do? What do I really want? And I had already been ready to get out of travel anyways for a couple of years. And so I just started coaching online. I took a Big Bob Proctor course and I was like, wow, this is really neat. And I really loved the class that I was in, and I've always been a teacher of some sort and knew that I could do it as well. So that started in July of 2020. And I started with mindset and the law of attraction, and I really saw a lot of holes in the way that law of attraction is sold out there. And what really started to get me was our law of assumption, like our true beliefs about who we are, where they came from, healing dysfunctional patterns from childhood. I see patterns when someone's speaking and telling me about what they're frustrated with. And so it was just a really great opportunity to be able to help people. I feel like I do soul travel now of, what are people really here for? What are they looking for? What are the blocks that are there? And a lot of people who find they are in their rebirthing stage. So it's like, how do we take the shadow pieces and the passion pieces and put them together so that clients can energetically find them? And I took over the Oasis of Healing Salt Spa a year ago. So it's been awesome having a physical location. I'm here in Waterloo on Tollgate, and just a beautiful space here. We have 3 practitioner rooms and 2 salt rooms that are absolutely healing. Just
Oh,
as soon as
nice.
you walk in the space, it feels very calm and relaxing. So I never thought I would end up here, but I am, and I'm home. It feels so good, and the transformations that I'm able to create with people is just like it's the best. Feels really good.
Beautiful. Yeah, when you talk about things kind of going south during COVID, a lot of people don't realize that, there was some not so good things, but COVID really was a blessing for a lot of people, and
Yeah.
I think it's like anything else in life, it's how you frame it, right? Don't frame it in that manner. You have to look at it and look what happened for you, right?
Mm,
You're looking in your mind, you manifested it, no doubt, you were looking for change and there was.
yeah.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, um, let's just see. I asked you about a couple of questions. So we'll start with, why is working in the emotional body so important?
Yes, I feel that this is where the beliefs come from and what we're holding on to. So the emotional body is, every ailment or whatever our body is saying is speaking for the subconscious. And so if we can look at what is the core root, I like using German new medicine. I found it to be the best modality. There's no guesswork. It really gets to the core of what is going on biologically in that body part or parts, different things that are going on, and then just reframing the belief around that or the belief of what you're here for, something in that manner, and soul work. So it's a combination. We're looking at all of you: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and environmental. What is going on around you? We're all frequency and frequency readers. And it's really interesting to meet with families and just what the kids are experiencing. They're very sensitive. And so often they are helping the family heal whatever is not being said, usually in the home. So it's very interesting. I find that, a lot of modalities or even practitioners look at the symptom and try to heal the symptom, specifically what it is. But if you don't get to the root, it's just going to keep coming back. Like, I've talked
100%.
to another really close friend of mine who's a practitioner as well, and she was doing the biofeedback and the live blood cell analysis. And she would tell me, I've helped this woman heal this, thing in her uterus 3 times. She's like, it's the emotions. And now she studied the emotions. This practitioner has studied the emotional effects of ailments because she was seeing it in her practice too. It's the root. When you can get into
Yeah,
that root, then you can heal it for good.
exactly. And like even with the work that I do, whether it be medicine work, shamanic work, that's the key.
Yeah.
As I've said before, many centuries ago, we didn't have a doctor in pharmaceuticals. We had shaman, medicine people, herbalists,
Right.
whatever, right? And they would go to them, and that's what they did. They get to the root and remove it, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
don't start building up the symptoms to the physical, mental, the mind, body, and spirit issues. So yeah, 100%. That is so important to get to the root. Yes, I agree so much. Um, so as well. So another one of the questions is, why is clearing generational shame one of the ways that you help someone?
Mm-hmm. So shame is the lowest on the frequency scale or the emotional ladder, good old Abraham Hicks. And so if we can help to shift the shame, I call a session a shift and lift. Like, let's shift the heaviness. Let's shift shame that's in the body. And I clear the generational trauma, sexual trauma in the lineage, because it's somewhere there. And then the shame that we've held on to in the body for that person, so that they can feel lighter. The frequency then rises, or they're just in a new awareness of like, oh, I don't have to hold on to this thing or this thing that happened to me in the past. Yes, it is what it is. We don't bypass it. You have to honor the feelings that are in the body, right? The body keeps the score.
Mm-hmm.
And then being able to look at it from a different perspective. Maybe it's part of a bigger plan. Maybe it connects more of the dots. Maybe it is part of generational healing. I really love seeing families because you can tell what's going on with each person, where the family healing is, right? And it skips a generation. So all of us, like for you and I, our grandparents are wingmans in a sense of like healing first only what's in ourselves. We're only responsible for ourselves. So I tell people, stay in your lane. It's like what you're here to heal or grow through. But you can often see, since we were in our grandparents' reproductive organs, and our grandparents, went through those 2 world wars, depression, coming from another country, often over to Canada where we are. And so that stuff is in the lineage, and it just gets passed down. And hopefully the next generation that's more advanced is able to heal those dysfunctional patterns. If you think of our grandparents who went through the depression, that's the silent generation. That's what they're called. A lot of them just grin and bared it. And then, with my grandma, who was born during the silent group there of grandparents, it was very hard for her to cry. We would tease her because her lip would quiver, but she, had a really hard time expressing her emotions. And she was a single mom in the 60s with 6 kids. Like, there was a lot of stuff going on for them. I think it'd be really fun actually to be there because I'm sure they had a lot of fun, just with
I
how
was
crazy
born in
my
the
aunts and uncles
60s,
are.
so I could kind of I didn't have kids or anything. I was way too young for that,
Right.
but I was born in the 60s, so I can kind of relate to the era.
Yeah. So it's just like neat to see like the boomers and then I'm Gen X and just every year I feel that the emotional theme is expanding. I even think millennials, and millennials can be a little bit frustrating for the Gen X or baby boomers, but they have boundaries. We never had them. We were just taught that we had to do what we were told and we did not have a choice or we were punished often. And so it's really just, being able to live now from a place of no fear of abandonment or rejection if you don't do something the way that someone else wants you to do it, but simply that we can just stand in our own authority of who we are and really looking at our families from that bigger scale of like, okay, take a step back. Yes, you're dealing with this stuff, but does it fit into the puzzle of your family? And that this is something that your grandparents went through as well, or that you're here maybe as a cycle breaker to heal in the family generation. No cold stonewalling, no, maybe anger, yelling as a way of expressing or shaming. And how many times have we had conversations with someone, myself too, I'm learning to heal it in myself, where because we want something or we want a need met, we'll often phrase it in a way that can be shaming, even though that's not our intention necessarily, but it's just the language that we have learned.
I have my moments too with my son. It's you kind of catch yourself at some point, but sometimes a little too late. You kind of give it your all, and then you go, oh, okay, that's not how I wanted that to come out.
Yeah. Repair is the best word because you can always go back and say, you know what? I was overwhelmed in that moment or my nervous system was
And I usually
overrun.
do. I
This is
usually
what I really wanted to say.
Yeah, it's funny because one of the biggest themes right now with a lot of clients that I have, and I think it's as you've expressed it perfectly, is people standing in their own power. Many. That's one of the main themes that is coming
Yeah.
up recently more so than ever. Working with people in whatever capacity that I'm working with them, those blockages are preventing them, right, from stepping into their own power, going to that solar plexus and giving
Mhm.
your all. Be your one person. You can still be with others, but be one with yourself before you can, before you expand in whatever way that you're trying to get to. You got to start at the beginning. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm noticing that a lot right now.
Yeah, totally. And I even think we're all just in these stages, the maiden, mother, crone, or, these last 3 years has really given us all an opportunity to study new things that we hadn't learned, or learning the inner work or shadow work, or even, our own spiritual practices that are very different than they were in 2019. And we're rebirthing these new versions of ourselves that we can be a little bit wobbly because not everyone in our regular circle maybe understands the language. And so we're looking for others who understand us on that deeper level. But it's really neat to, see those who are in the Saturn return, so 30s or late 50s, early 60s, and then the Chiron returns, those who are in their, you know, late 40s, early 50s. And if you're not on track and you're not doing that inner work, then spirit is going to, or the universe is going to bring you into that alignment. And that's where I feel a lot of the wobble is. For those who are in the, the gooey part of their just their metamorphosis, I guess, as they're rebirthing that new version of themselves.
The humble beginnings.
Yeah, yeah,
The humble beginnings, getting their feet out of the quicksand that continues to slowly, trying to get them back up here and forward as opposed to
right.
right. Um,
Yeah.
Again,
Well, really, I think just it's only even been the last 3 or 4 years for boundaries where we actually know or even know the word or what they are, right? And being able to say, actually, no, that doesn't resonate with me, or no as a full sentence.
no, and that's yeah. Again, it comes back to everything that you've been talking about. 100%. Um, People are not even realizing or recognizing, well, yeah, but I do this and I stand my ground, and it's like it's not just about standing your ground. There is so much more to self empowering yourself in a heart space way. That the way a lot of people, again, and like you said, depending on the age, in a lot of ways, is the way we're brought up. You
Hmm.
know, you don't really recognize it because the way you come to understand standing in your own power and what it really is are definitely two totally different topics.
Hmm.
They're over here and it's like, no, 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 this is how it works, right? So
Yeah.
it is a very daunting thing for some people. A lot of work. A
Hmm.
lot of work.
I'm a highly sensitive person, and I've been the fixer, the glue in the family, and always saying yes. We're trying to keep everyone together, right? And so it was only
Yeah,
about, I think, a year ago where I broke down in my mom's arms because I finally had the courage to say no, that I wasn't helping some other family members that I had in the past. And the guilt that I felt for standing up for myself, first of all, but it was just like, I can't, like I physically can't help anyone else. I can only help myself right now. But,
good for you.
it's interesting. I'm in my late 40s and I'm like bawling to my mom because I was just like, it was something new. I had never branched out to be so brave, to be like, no.
It's hard, that first. I mean, it gets easier as time goes, but that beginning
Yeah.
step,
Yep.
because you start to feel those, like you said, shame, guilt. What did I do? And I should be helping them, though. I know I need to step back for myself, but I should be doing that. So all those things that come into play can make you definitely very emotional. I've done the same thing. And it doesn't just go away in that moment. It takes a bit of time to sit with what you've done and to
Yep.
accept it and understand that you did the right thing, right? You're
Yeah.
questioning yourself. Did I do the right thing? I don't know if I did the right thing. I think I'm supposed to do that. When I know, I don't know. Good for you
Well, it's
though.
that good girl and good boy conditioning, right? And I even think with guilt, like now I can say no, no problem. And I don't have that same kind of guilt. Maybe like I might think a little bit like, oh, could I? And I'm like, no, that doesn't resonate with me. But guilt can often be, a feeling of, did you do something wrong? And for most of us, the answer is no. So I would say it's probably not guilt. It's something else. It's this feeling, maybe a deeper fear of abandonment or rejection if we're not doing the thing that is expected of us. And so even like we can just let that guilt flow through and out our feet to, for Mother Earth to transmute, because if you are standing in your power, you're not doing anything wrong. It's just we're learning these new skills.
Exactly. And
Hmm.
and I often, with talking to people, tell them, don't get discouraged, because there's going to be times it's going to be hard, right?
Yeah.
It's you're so used to digging your heels in and going, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to help you, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. I was the same person, and not only just for family and friends. I mean, I've always been a very staunch volunteer. Actually, I did it this weekend. It was an exception. There was a family that was suffering, and I stepped up with a friend of mine, and we have our own community pages, and we went to town, and it was beautiful to see how
Mm,
the community came together to help them. So whether it's a justification or not, it is something that I do on occasion, and I have no regrets. I mean, it's
right.
somebody's really hurting. This family, I honestly, in all these tough times, that's the worst I've ever seen or heard at this point.
Mm,
So I was very grateful that we were able to step up and get a community involved to help. But in
right.
any event, it's the same thing. And then you'll sometimes backpedal a little bit and you go, oh, whoa, wait a minute. Um, am I honoring myself or aren't I? Because it's just who I've always been. It's always who I am, is to help others. So I have to sometimes still, even though the majority of the time, but I don't feel guilty when I say no, but I have to really check in, because it's something I've done most of my life.
Right.
Right? Help others, volunteer work, the whole 9 yards. So
Mhm.
yeah, it can be a challenge.
I think if we're asking though, like why am I saying yes, or why am I doing the volunteer? If it is to be accepted or to be validated or not be abandoned or rejected, then I would say that's not the energy to say yes to. But if you feel
Oh
good
yes.
and your cup is full and you have the capacity and your heart is saying move forward in this, then absolutely, what a joy
Oh
it is
yes.
to take part in that.
Oh yes. And as I said, this is something. It's my hometown, right? And we have over
Yeah.
30,000 between our two community pages of Acton and
Wow.
Georgian. So,
Amazing.
and we do this at Christmas. We've done this off and on for over 11 years
Wow.
with these pages. So, um, like I say to people, sometimes we joke, and we say, we're kind of selfish, because for us, the feeling of gratitude, and your heart explodes when you see how you've helped other people in the community.
Right.
It's almost like we always say, we jokingly say, well, you know what, we're kind of selfish because how we feel after doing this does not compare to any of what you guys are seeing. It just doesn't compare, right? So, it has its own little gratitudes and blessings for us that are doing that to help this out. So, but yeah,
Right.
most definitely. Um, so one of the other questions was, why do you use German New Medicine? Which we'll get into. We're going to break down the different services that you provide and
Okay.
modalities. But why do you use German New Medicine and quantum human design together? So I think what we're going to do is we're going to leave that. I just thought of that. We'll leave that one. Let's get more into maybe explain to us what the German New Medicine is, so we can actually compute what the two are that we can use together.
Sure, absolutely. So when someone has a shock fright or a feeling of being caught on the wrong foot, then in that moment, the body takes in psyche, brain, organ, and they communicate with each other. So if someone had, actually, I'll just share first. So Dr. Hammer was the gentleman that discovered German New Medicine, and he had studied over 100,000 brain scans. That's the part I like, is there's so much meat and proof to the modality. I find a lot of other modalities is a lot of guesswork. Like I studied quantum energy healing,
Okay.
and great modality, absolutely, just how to clear energy and all of that. I feel a little bit more advanced than Reiki, but it's still a lot of guesswork. And based on my perceptions of how I've seen the world, right, with the
Mhm.
person I'm speaking to. So with German New Medicine, it's just very clear. If you have issues in the kidneys or in the lungs, something, the body has been mapped, that it is a set conflict that have happened, whether it's territorial or separation or abandonment or isolation. So you can actually go in and ask more direct questions and find the root a lot faster with German New Medicine. And it makes sense. It's just the biological way that the body works. There's no bad bacteria in us. The way that cancer is even explained is totally different than what we've been taught. So you don't have to live in fear of, like, when your body has a symptom, it is often the case of either a hanging healing where there's something in your environment that keeps triggering it over and over, or your body's in a healing phase. And that's when the symptoms come. So we know sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, so rest and digest or fight or flight when you're in that high beta kind of state. And we have those natural circadian rhythms. But when you are in conflict all the time, then your body is tripped into that fight or flight or that sympathetic state. And so it's just knowing how to look at what the root is, let the body just take a sigh or calm or solve the conflict, or at least see it really just from another angle or a new perspective. And you go, okay, so that's what happened. That happened so many years ago, or I don't need to hold on to that old coping method anymore. And you can flip the perspective in your brain that your body then relaxes and either will heal the thing. Like there's so many stories and testimonials I've read, like someone who has Crohn's, which often is said, you'll have that for a really long time. If someone heals the conflict of where that started, it'll be gone the next day. Like it's amazing. It happens so quickly. As soon as you actually, conceptualize it with your human brain now versus when younger you took on a pact of the world isn't safe in some manner, then you're really able just to flip something on its head as far as like what your body is experiencing, or look at it from a new level that really puts you, I feel, into a lot more peace and calm around what's going on in your body or those around you in the home.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yes, I've never heard of that. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things I always say. I'm so thankful to be doing what I'm doing and speaking to all of you because, there's so many modalities out there, and you think you have an idea of most of them, with the
Right.
energy and this and that. And yet, I've had so many that I've spoken to, never heard of it. There's so many new modalities that are so needed, and it's amazing because it's awesome that there are people, as I said in the beginning, they'll resonate and go, oh, that sounds very interesting. I would really like to check that out, right? To
This
help.
one I find really neat as well. It started in the 80s, and it's been shut down so many times because it actually works.
Yeah, well, you know how that goes. That's
Yeah.
a whole other topic. We could do a whole other topic on that for a good few hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay, but so what about the quantum human design now, which is the other? piece of what you put together with that. So
Sure.
maybe explain what that's all about.
Yes, human design is, I feel, a little bit popular right now. Quantum human design is from Karen Curry Parker, and I really like her. She's a seer, and she sees the other split that's coming in 2027 for humanity, and so she just explaining who we are now from very much like a mother energy and also what's coming up in the future. And a lot of it has to do with your own lovability. Like, how do you love yourself? You know, the integrity that you have, and etc. And the neat thing about it, when I see a reading, is that it shows. For me, I'm looking for what is someone's soul theme. How do they process energy? How do they process emotions, which is really huge. Some people can get it, they're sacral, and they can make a decision on the spot. A lot of other people are a wave emotional person where it takes time and you need to think about it. There's even one of the archetypes, there's four, who needs to wait a month before they make a decision. And I
Wow,
think if you know that, then you're less in limbo. You're like, okay, this is how my
I can
energy flows.
imagine a
Mhm.
month. Oh my god. Oh
Yeah.
no, that wouldn't be me.
They're reflectors and they're only 1% of the population. I'm a projector, which is like a guide or a teacher, 20% of the population. And then we have the workers, we have the manifestors and stuff. It's a really neat system that takes into account 7 other systems like the I Ching, astrology, the chakras, etc. And I think it just really lays out a nice path of like, here are some things around why you're here, what you're here for, some themes. We can do what we want. But if you're in alignment with the theme, like mine is passion, which is really fun because I found out, after I created my Naked Alchemy program, which is like a healing path to sacred sexuality, that I'm here to help people with passion and bringing them back into alignment of who they really are. So I was like, sweet, I'm on track. So it's just those kinds of things that I think give people a little bit more concrete information on what they're here for. And then with German New Medicine and combining the two of them, it's like, okay, what's your body saying? And often, depending on what someone is going through, it's in the chart. So there's even pieces of my own chart now where there's not so much of the childhood trauma or the things that I went through that were, I see or I saw as traumatic. Actually, parts of that are in my chart, and I needed to go through that experience. I say it's my training ground, right? Our childhood was our training ground for what we're here for now.
Most
So it's really
definitely.
neat because, yeah, I think it even just gives you, I don't know, I feel we've done so much healing. And I think now let's all just shift into this self-discovery phase of like, who am I really? To really know thyself, those inner waters of wisdom. And a lot of what's in your birth charts, whether, you have astrology, horoscope, or astronomy reading, astronomy is better, then I think it just really gives you this roadmap of like, okay, here are some pieces and the confidence that you have, when you know that there's a piece of your chart that is attached to your business or whatever it is that you're doing. I think really just gives you that inner confidence. You're like, okay, this is definitely in alignment with what I'm here for.
Awesome. Yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome. Yeah, that's beautiful. So now I'm kind of getting a feel now for the question of how the two combining and why. But it'd be nice to hear it from you exactly,
Sure.
and how that works. So the German New Medicine and the quantum human design. Um, so you incorporate the two together
You do.
as a modality as well. So if you can explain some of that,
Yeah.
the cons, et cetera, and so on, maybe why it would be more useful
Hmm.
use them together as opposed to even apart, right?
Yep, totally. So, Karen Curry Parker's book, she has an encyclopedia of quantum human design, and it basically has taken all the gates and the archetypes and the profiles and stuff, and she has a page for each one. And so, when I am searching their theme and what they're here for, and their conscious sun planet, which tells me what they're here to give the earth or give the world, and then I look at the earth of like what grounds you, and Chiron, what is your soul lesson? So in each of those three, there's actually a body part listed. And so it goes really nicely with the German New Medicine. So if someone's here for the ovaries and the prostate or the kidneys or the parathyroid or the thyroid, that's all about powerlessness. The kidneys, if you think of the word air with the letter E, I have goosebumps right now. I just love this stuff. Then
That's what you're here for. By all
it's my
means,
nerd brain. I'm just like,
we've still got half an hour.
um,
We got lots of time, so get right into it. I love to learn.
if it's the kidneys, and I think this is the big one for really just everybody, self-devaluation or like low self-worth, and then the kidneys, just from everything that I've seen. I see patterns. So the kidneys is that word air with the letter E at the end. So abandonment, isolation, refugee, feeling like a fish out of water. It doesn't mean that you've come from another country, although most of our grandparents have. It could be that you feel like a fish out of water at work or in your family. You feel like the black sheep or the one that didn't fit in, right? Many of us watching these will feel like that. An existential crisis of like, why the heck am I even here? And I even feel that as people are going through their spiritual awakening, like that was the start of mine in 2018, as I was depressed in bed, what I thought was depression. And I was debating whether to live or not. I'm like, I don't want this life. You know, I've had really amazing experiences traveling the world, and I want that back, or I'm good. I'm ready to go. And, cause I was raising a little one at the time, my niece, I didn't want to go anywhere. And so I was like, you know what? I'm so determined. I'm going to figure out why I'm in such a slow state. And so the depression was a success because it
Beautiful.
helped to bring me up into, you know what, just fighting for a better life or just feeling better every day instead of waking up with dread of like, oh, what's today going to bring? Instead of what do I get to experience today and how can I create that? Yeah, so I feel like I've gone on a big tangent there, but those are the main
Good,
things on
good.
how to tie it
People will
together.
learn from you, right?
Mhm. Um, what else? As far as like, so the body type, and I love Scorpios. I want to share that. So if someone's watching your Scorpio, Scorpios rule the sexual organs, and we've been taught, whether it's religion or our parents didn't really know how to talk to us about sex, or just like this feeling of taboo. Um, I really love Scorpios because they can go in the deeper crevices with people, right? They can go into that shadow work with people. And since they ruled sexual organs, that was my last, or I guess south node, so, or my descending, excuse me. So I've like, even just the sexual organs are really interesting for me because that's where a lot of shame sits. I work in the lower three chakras. And so, you know, what is sitting in there as far as base chakra? Where do you not feel supported by tribe? Where do you feel, you know, the wobbles of maybe not feeling like you have community? Maybe you're here to build one. Usually the expression of what we're feeling is tied somewhere in our chart. We were supposed to go through this experience of feeling loneliness or feeling like a black sheep or something like that so that we could come together and what we're here for now. Um, and then back to just the chakras there, base chakra finances too, for any of those who worry about money. Sacral, if you're not creating a baby, then you're creating a better relationship with yourself, a business, art, music. So that's my favorite place to hang out. Business and sex are the sexual organs in there, that rebirthing of that relationship with yourself, you know, where can you do mirror work, you know, and look at all of your body parts. We're not really taught that anywhere, but we are such a beautiful portal. Same with men, right? Yoni and lingam for men. Lingam is a wand of light. They are very healing in themselves. But people, I think, just don't have the language for this yet. We're getting there. And then in the solar plexus, you know, if your identity, especially if you're rebirthing or you've come from a corporate job or being an employee, now you're like, you know what, I want to help people in the holistic healing arts or in energy work. You're rebuilding a whole new version of yourself that, you know, imagine running into someone from high school and I tell them, yeah, I'm a sacral energy healer. They're gonna be like, what? Right. So it takes that confidence as you're rebuilding yourself. And I really do feel is that, you know, even though the throat chakra is connected to the sacral, it really comes in when our identity is solid, when we really know what and who we are and what we're here for. That's another piece of the human design that I think is really special because it's giving people, hey, right here on paper, it shows you, you know, a little bit more of your identity. So it's not this guesswork or I really like this one passion. It's like, no, this actually is in my chart. I'm meant to hang on to a piece of this. So once your solar plexus is feeling more secure, then bam, your throat is going to open up because you really know who you are and you have that courage to speak that truth or what you've come here for. So even though I work in the lower three, of course we use, all the chakras, but it's in those lower three, the as above, so below, where people have the hardest time. It's where we're hiding some aspect of ourselves. And I really do believe that, as we do one thing, we do all things. So if you're hiding in your business, you're also hiding in the bedroom or vice versa. And so if you can feel empowered in that, that wobbly taboo kind of place in the lower chakras, and you can feel really connected and really know your body. What is your heck yes? What is your heck no? Being able to muscle test so you can make decisions that, with more confidence and a decision where you're like, yes, this is my decision and I can move forward with this until I receive new insight or a new inkling from the universe that I'm to go another way. But I think these are tools and ways of living that we can be in alignment and feel really good about who we are in that alignment.
Beautiful. Yeah. So much truth to all of that. It's always interesting because even with a lot of things that I know, it's always interesting. You can even take away those little nuggets because when somebody expresses or explains things a little bit different than what the way you actually view it,
Right.
it kind of opens those little gateways again into a little more insight into those types of things. So thank you for that. Yeah, that's always
Yeah.
that's always a lot of fun. Um, Especially being a healer myself, of course, so being able
Right.
to learn and have those little nuggets and takeaways when I do this is awesome. It's always nice to have the different perspectives and the different explanations, get a little deeper into things that maybe you didn't think about. Um, so what about the quantum energy and the lower chakras? I'm assuming this is part of what you were just talking about
Mhm.
in terms of um, that.
Yes. So I took 2 levels of quantum energy healing back in 2020, and it really opened my eyes to just energy work in general. I grew up Jehovah's Witness, and I say I got out of the cult at 13. Then I went to a Catholic high school, and then I married into a Baptist family and divorced. And so much legalism, so much rules. If you don't do it our way, then you're wrong or evil or you're going to die. Like just so much, fear kind of stuff. And even around anything esoteric. So when I went to my first Reiki session, I was really nervous because I was afraid, just how I was programmed and conditioned growing up through those religions. And so when I went, I know I wasn't fully open. I was a little bit apprehensive because I wasn't sure if she was going to be weird or I just didn't know, you're going to hold your hands over me. Like, what?
The unknown, right? The totally unknown.
Yeah. Yeah. My Jehovah's Witness grandma made fun of my Protestant grandma who would speak in tongues and hold her hands up. And there was a whole fear thing around that when we were kids. So it was like this world where I was like, oh, I don't know. And it was really apprehensive. But she said to me, you have a guide here, this Indian chief, and he has his arms wide open and he's just flowing all this love to you. And I was like, okay, not so weird. Like nothing scary happened. And I pulled a card. And that was really my first time pulling an oracle card because that was against, the rules as well. And I used to talk people out of going to see a medium, which is so funny. I'm like, something evil will come to your home, and I would talk them out of it. And now, so interesting, I do similar work, um, just tapping into spirit. And so through the quantum energy healing, it just helped me to see what energy healing really could do. We were part of a group we were all women who were helping someone who would write in and say they needed help. And then for a week, it's just like being in a meditative state. So you just imagine the person there and you're just reading into the energy and what they said that they were having trouble with. Then we would just send love to that. It's intention and love. And I think we all have access to it. You don't even necessarily have to take a course. We all have healing hands or a healing heart, our intentions of what we're putting into either someone long distance or into the body or just holding it over the body. And so the one thing that got me was this lady had said, she had really bad arthritis in her hands and she wasn't able to text using her fingers. She had to,
Oh,
put the phone down and use something to type. And when she was messaging us, she was saying thank you because she was actually able to text us the message to say thank you. We had moved so much
well,
of the energy, that stuck energy in her hands, that she was able to message and use her phone. And I was like, wow, we did that. We had a hand in it. And so I was able to see firsthand what energy was able to do. And it moved me. I was like, oh my goodness, this is so powerful. And so it was just that hunger then, and I just became a sponge and just learning. And I was doing, interviews like yourself. I ran a company at the time, it's no longer, but called Healing Soul School. And we were interviewing, we would do a weekend and we would interview 18 coaches and healers over the weekend, just in all different areas or themes around addiction and healing trauma and that sort of thing. And so I learned a lot for a year and a half speaking to people and just really, picking their brain, like what's your top medicine, or, what do
Right.
you feel humanity needs, right? And just really learning from that and seeing just the beautiful people who are doing things out in the world that are there to help people to thrive and to, lift them up out of this heaviness that maybe they're feeling, or just wanting some clarity in an area. And I think it's just such a neat community that we're a part of and what we get to do. I just feel I feel grateful. I just have to say that, because I would rather be doing this than working, a regular job sort of thing that I was before, where I just didn't have that same kind of impact with someone.
It's very rewarding, as I was saying before, um, it's one of those things where, um, we kind of joke a little bit, but it's one of those things where when you have that person that you've really helped in even just a small area of their life, you can't help but think, boy, I'm almost feeling selfish right now, because how I'm feeling because of what's happened in terms of my guidance to help them to heal themselves, you
Yeah.
know, is beyond, what you feel. Your heart just explodes. You can't even express it. It's just so overwhelming how you feel to have been able to do that one thing, right? Let alone more.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. It's absolutely beautiful, beyond beautiful, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and most of us that are healers, it's something that we've done in previous lifetimes. This isn't the first time show. A lot of times it's something we've done previously,
Right.
several lifetimes. For instance, with me, I know pretty much every lifetime I've done healing of some sort or another. So,
Awesome.
you know, it's not anything new. It is in this lifetime, but
Right. And we're
it
not going to
isn't
be
new.
killed for it.
Uh,
And we're not going to be killed for it.
no, no, no. And we're not going to be hung or burned at the stake, right? Yeah, no kidding. Although there are sometimes, I'll tell you, because I resonated when you were talking about not so much the Jehovah Witness, but I was raised. The only person in my family that went to church was my grandmother, but I was extremely close with my mother's mother. So of course I did. I went to Sunday school and all the way through as in Anglican church, which is very close to Catholicism. It's not quite as stringent, but it's very close. The confirmation and all the other stuff that you do throughout the upbringing in the church. So, and it was the same with me, 13, 14 years old, and high school, and all these other things came along, and I did the same thing. I was like, okay, I'm done. This really isn't resonating with me. I'm just going to keep going and see what comes up next, type of thing, even at that young age. So I
Yeah.
relate to that 100%, right? But I can only
Mm-hmm.
imagine with the conflict of Jehovah Witness, and that had to have been a bit of a challenge to navigate through that.
Yeah.
That would be.
And the cool thing is, like, um, my grandma came to, so I was doing a session for a husband, and the wife came in, and she's a seer, and she doesn't do it for work. She's like, if someone in the grocery store is there and I have a message, I just let them know. So she's sitting in there and she's like, there's a woman who wants to come through. Like, she definitely wants to talk to you. And her name starts with a letter D. And I'm like, that's my grandma Doris, who just passed last September. And grandma died in the Jehovah's Witness faith. And so the message was, I don't know what this is, because the devil presents itself in many ways, but whatever you're doing, keep going. And I thought, that is really cool. And
And that's
I was
huge
just
coming from the
so
Jehovah's
moved.
Witness. That's huge,
Yeah, so moved. Like, I have
right?
goosebumps right now. And I know she helps me. Like, there's times when there's certain words when someone comes into the spa and they share, like, my grandma and I lived in Costa Rica together. And so we shared a lot of beach experiences. And so there's certain words when people say, I know it's grandma, and it's really awesome. But part of that reading too, that woman was sharing with me, it was like she wants to cry, but she can't. And I just took to that, that I'm supposed to help those who have a really big story and they don't know who to tell, or they're holding in this secret or that shame, because we've had secrets in our family too that unfortunately, still are part of a secret. And it's like, no, we're done with the dysfunction. Let's heal all of that. And so it was just a really neat confirmation for that to come through. And I
True.
want to speak a little bit more to the shame that we were talking about earlier, because this is another part of my passion, is for any of us who were raised in any kind of religion, doesn't even matter, where you were taught that, you were born a sinner and you had to do something, whether it was say a prayer or, some kind of thing that you had to do in order to be redeemed or to be accepted in the
Right.
clan. Not true. Like, we were born worthy. We had a 1 in 400,000 chance of that sperm hitting the egg. We won the spirit lottery to be here
Strong
in the
swimmer.
body that you're in. And so, like, let's all unhook from those stories of shame of, if you don't do this thing, then you're less than in some manner, because that is so not true. And even for those who, grew up with Santa Claus, like, he kept a list and he checked it twice, right? Who's naughty and who's nice. So even any of that fear of, like, if you're not the good girl, and I think we all need to live and do no harm and live in integrity and all of that, but if there's something deep down inside of you that, you're holding on to, or there's guilt if you don't do this thing for other people, even though you don't have the capacity, let that go. Like, no longer do we need to hold on to those shame pieces, or the feeling or need to, receive validation outside of yourself for something that you either need to do, or receive validation from a parent or a family member or someone like that, because that validation can only come from within.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Now, what about Tantra?
Oh yeah, Tantra's fun. So I learned February 20, just a year ago, year and a half almost, and now certified to help lead sessions. And I do something, it's a Tantra circle, where people are learning how to connect with each other. So a safe touch. Nothing is sexual in the sessions or in the circle. It's really, just learning how to communicate. A lot of it is communication. I'm a life path 3. It's all about expression. So, eye gazing and what an energy hug is, like how to actually hold someone on the right side, heart to heart, but where you hold the hand behind the heart and behind the womb space, or the lower back, right, the reproductive organs, and you can send love from your heart down your arms, that's quantum, into the person. And when you hold it for 20 seconds or more, both of you receive oxytocin. That's a bonus. We're learning how to
Yeah.
create natural ecstasy in our body, or oxytocin, that feels dopamine, that feels really good, instead of turning to substances and that sort of thing. So yeah, my just tantra is really neat because it's sexuality and spirituality together, and it is the best way to heal trauma, because you are opening up this sweet, vulnerable, safe side of yourself to other people in a group, or depending on where you are, the scenario, or how you're learning. But it will take you deeper, quicker than anything else. And I work with a beautiful Tantra teacher who taught me a lot of my stuff. And her name is Corrine. And we led a retreat weekend together. We have a certification program together, and it's really just, how to go deeper for someone, for a lot of people who do body work, or even sex workers, honestly, who are helping people on that deeper level. There's so much energy exchange between people in that field. And it's like, knowing how your own energy works, or how to read the energy of someone else and not take on anyone else's stuff, is really powerful. But I think even
Yeah.
just to be in that safe, vulnerable space with someone else and to just let yourself open. Man, I have had circles where it's the men that are crying because they feel seen. Imagine being in a circle where, as a woman, we can soften, what it's like to be in our divine feminine, and the man can be the man, and he can be the masculine. He can hold that space for us.
Right.
It's such a beautiful transaction between, you know, follow, lead, masculine, feminine energy, not necessarily the gender, but just to be able to feel seen and held, and then that touch, whether it's massage or holding hands, or even just being able to feel someone else's energy field. It's a little bit of energy healing in that too, what is happening in your body? Do you have nervous, butterflies? Do you want to throw up? Do you feel really nervous? It's so interesting watching people come in, because this is part of my work and what I do, just reading body language of other people. And some people come in, they're all calm and cool. They're like, yep, let's get to it. And they're super excited. They've done a little bit of the inner work, but others are a little bit nervous because it's something that's new. And, it's just this exploratory part of yourself that when you leave, or even the next day, you feel so empowered. You're like, I did a hard thing. Or, even conscious speed dating events where you're going out and you're meeting people just to interact and actually be seen, actually give true, authentic answers where you're like, this is what I want. And I think even expressing it, some people will want one thing in a relationship, or, as they're expressing it to the other person, but often it's what they think that person wants to hear. So they're not going to be abandoned or rejected. So your crap gets left at the door because you are coming in to be your authentic self in all your weirdness or whatever it is that you like or don't like. But it's just a way of exploring yourself first, always your own safety, and then being able to be in kind of, this playful kind of energy that is safe, for you to really just explore what it's like to be in someone else's energy. And so when you do one of the little exercises, then you move to the next person. So you're experiencing everyone that's there, not, just one or two people, which is nice because you get to interact with everyone. And for those of us who know energy and you know how to read body, or if you get the truth bumps, right, or your yes is like, those truth bumps all over. It was interesting. I was in a circle and my body was just lit up. I'm like, spirit is here. Like, I don't even know. I wouldn't even have dated the guy. Like, he wasn't necessarily my type, but as they would say. And so I just said to him, I said, I feel we need to connect. I don't know, but like, I read energy and I am just lit up head to toe, goosebumps. And I feel like we're supposed to have another conversation. I don't think it's necessarily for dating. Like, I was able to be very open and honest with him. I said, we're supposed to have another conversation outside of this place. So it was really cool, because then he was looking for some soul guidance, in where he is. He wanted to leave a legacy. And that's part of what I just see the potential in people. And so, I was able to give him some of the things I was picking up just based on what he was sharing. But it was really neat. Out of a room of 20 men at that one, it was a bigger circle. Spirit was just like all over this, like, yep.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, those connections are always nice. They kind of take us by surprise. We've got a few minutes left here.
Sure.
I guess one of the things that really is left that I haven't asked yet, and we'll have to condense it a little, but is what would you say was one of your biggest aha moments from the time you started doing this work until now, till the present time?
I think it's the self-regulation and really people just knowing who they are within. Like, what is your heck yes? What is your heck no? Breath is always going to bring you back to that calm state. And I think just learning how to, whatever your coping methods are, fight, flight, freeze, fawn, effort is the fifth one, using sex or substance as a coping method. Just really knowing and owning what is your stuff? Where did you learn it from? Where did those patterns come from? They're probably not yours. You learned them somewhere from what you saw at home as a kid.
Training
And then
and
being,
conditioning.
what's that?
Training and conditioning growing up.
Yeah. Yeah. And then saying, you know what, who am I? Like, who am I without that conditioning? And what do I want? What resonates with me? What are my beliefs that really resonate, and going on that exploratory journey? Like, I really do believe we're in a time of self-discovery now, not so much healing. Yes, we'll do that as we go along, but can we make it fun? Can we make it, why do you have that thing? Why do you get headaches every time you walk into that certain house? Like those kinds of things, instead of, oh, I got this big heavy thing, or this, it's going to take me forever to clear all this generational stuff. No, it's not. Like in the quantum, it can be done right there. You can change timelines. You can, clear all lifetimes, all of that in the quantum, are just really setting the intention of like, who are you and what do you want? Can you feel like the person you want to be is here right now? We are in the present. And really just, start to feel that, be that, so you're attracting the things that you want, the things that really resonate in with you.
Wonderful. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. Great to have you express and share your experiences and your humble beginnings and all that you've learned in terms of of how you can help others and help people to understand. As I said, I always take away little nuggets from these conversations
Yeah.
that I have. There's always something, even when it's something there's always that little something you see it in a different way as opposed to, how you originally saw it, and you kind of okay, so I can kind of see that too, right? It really kind of broadens your horizons even more,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
beautiful when you're helping others, right? So thank you for that. Much appreciated.
Thank you. And
So
thank you for
Christine,
your work. I listened to another one of your interviews before coming on, and same thing. I'm listening. Like I feel we're the teacher and we're the student always, but there were some nuggets in that, and it was like these are just really beautiful conversations. I think that they are really expansive. So thank you as well for what you're
oh,
doing.
thank you, much
Hmm.
appreciated. I love what
Yeah.
I'm doing. I'm gonna keep doing it for a while yet, but most definitely. And even as time goes on, if you develop more into more, you're doing something different, reach out to me, because, like I said, there's nothing that going forward. It is so wonderful to be able to incorporate so much differences and the different modalities and all the ways that we can help people. It's so important. It's so important
Hmm.
right now. Um, so a lot of this stuff you can do online, correct? Or,
Hmm.
not
Yeah.
even online. I mean, more even just distance, remotely. Uh,
Distance, remote. I mean, it's more fun in the spa because we've got the two salt rooms. Like they're
yeah,
super relaxing and healing. We do sound baths. Like you journey to another dimension for sure when you're in there. It's like being
well,
in the womb of the earth. It's really
right,
delicious.
right. Well,
Yeah.
we have a lot of people just on this platform alone that are Australia, and like there's
Oh,
all different.
fun.
So that's kind of why I'm putting that out there. So if there's people on the platform that couldn't make it here and see the replay, um, just to make sure they
Cool.
can reach out to you for some of this stuff, because some of it I'm sure can be done
Hmm.
remotely. But
Yeah.
definitely, if there's anybody that wants to go to the salt rooms and the other, which are a fabulous way of healing, they're absolutely beautiful. Um,
Yeah.
then by all means reach out to Christine. All of her links will be included in the replay when the link is posted, for her Instagram, her webpage, her the email, Instagram, all of it. LinkedIn, I think, is the other one.
Yeah.
So those will be included. Each one of those links will be included down below um, when this is on the replay. So if you have any questions, even if you're just curious about something,
Yeah.
that's what we do. Even if you don't necessarily engage and initiate something right away, but don't ever feel committed that you have to if you ask for a question. We
Hmm.
do what we do not just to help you, but it's to inform you as well. And chances
Yeah.
are, if you're being guided to ask a question, there's a reason why you're getting guided to ask that question. It's typically because it's something that you should be doing. So sit with
Yeah.
that too when you feel like you want to reach out, just ask that question, because that's
Yeah.
often very much what's going to need to be happening. So thank you for
And
Christine
if
for
it's okay, may I share? So there's a couple festivals that I'm a part of here in Ontario
you
that
mentioned.
are absolutely amazing. So Sonic Spring is in July, second weekend of August is Coming Home. So cominghomefestival.ca. And then in September, I'm one of the committee members for sherises.ca. And we're still looking for some more vendors for that. So this is 2023, June. So if you are available, depending on when you see the replay, this is our second year for both festivals, actually all three festivals, which is really neat. And yeah, just a way for a lot of them are energy healers that attend our soul family. So they're, yeah, really heart expanding kind of events.
Beautiful. And they're like Waterloo, Kitchener region, most of them, or
So no, they're just outside. So Sonic Spring is in Paisley, Ontario. Coming Home is in Amaranth, which is near Grand Valley, Ontario, and then She Rises is in just outside of Almer and at the Springfield Conservation Area, and they're all camping weekends.
beautiful.
Hmm.
Awesome. So there you go. There's more things if you want to know about. By all means, reach out to Christine. Sounds like they got some interesting things going on there. So maybe you'd like to even visit that initially, and go from there. And that
Cool.
would probably be a lot of fun too. So there's some events as well. Again, everything will be posted with the video when it comes out. Thank you so much, Christine. I've loved having you on here. And as I said to you, you ever incorporate more into what you're doing, reach out to me because I would love to get it back up there and get
Oh,
it out there and share it with everybody. Most definitely.
super grateful. Thank you.
Have a great evening. Much appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And maybe we'll talk again soon.
Awesome. Take care.
You too.